In Chapter 2, we're going to take a look at some of the proofing tools that Word offers us to enable us to create a well-written document. Keep in mind that even though these proofing tools are very helpful and can save time, there's still they're not substitutions for proofreading and actually going through and reviewing your document on your own. We'll begin by looking at the objectives that are found on page 51. And you'll notice there that we are going to look at the spelling and grammar check feature that's in Word, and so we'll actually apply that and run that checker on text within a document. We'll also learn to create a custom dictionary and then change the default dictionary so that it reads through that custom dictionary and checks the information within your document, lines it up, and actually compares it to the words that are in that dictionary. We'll also display synonyms and antonyms for specific words using the thesaurus. We'll display word, paragraph, and character counts. We'll also use the translation feature to translate words from English to other languages. And then finally, we'll learn to search for information online. If you look on pages 52, and actually just 52, that's it, are the model answers that we'll be working towards throughout Chapter 2. So you can take a look at those, and I may refer back to those throughout the chapter. And then we're going to begin Project 1 on page 53 that introduces us to the spelling and grammar checker within Word. And you probably already know this, but the spell checker finds misspelled words and then offers replacements for those words. It'll also look for duplicated words. If you've got two of the same words right next to each other, it'll look for irregular capitalizations. But what it does is it basically looks for words that are in the default dictionary and compares those words to what you have in your document. And if it's not in the dictionary, then it'll flag that and let you know that it's not found in the dictionary, and then you can make a change to those if necessary. The grammar checker will search a document for errors in grammar, punctuation, and word usage. And they mention this again on page 53, but both of those tools, the spell checker and the grammar checker, should not replace proofreading. You still need to go back and proofread the document, because you may have words in there that are spelled correctly, but they're used incorrectly in the sentence. So make sure that you still go back and proofread. And it's a good idea to do the spell checker and the grammar checker first, and then make your proofreading your second step in preparing your document. On page 54, they're going to show us what the spelling and grammar dialog boxes look like, and we're going to certainly look at those as we go through the first project here. But those, you've probably seen those, if not in Word, you may have seen them in other applications. Excuse me. If you don't want the spelling and grammar check to check grammar, you can deselect that. You'll notice in the second figure there, figure 2.2 on page 54, lower left hand corner, if you don't want grammar checker to be on, there's a check box in that dialog box where you can remove the check mark and it won't check for grammar for that document. And then if you look on the top of page 55, it explains button by button each of the options that you have in the dialog box. So you may want to review that. And again, we're going to look at some of those as we go through the projects in Chapter 2. Okay. And then at the top of page 56, we're going to look there at the Word Options dialog box. We're going to go into this dialog box when we create a custom dictionary. We can also make some changes in our options for the spelling and grammar check, and you can see some of those listed there as well. Alright, we're going to begin Project 1 by running the spell checker. And before we do that, though, we're going to make sure that some of the options are turned on in our spelling and grammar dialog box. So to get to those options, like the ones that you see actually at the top of page 56, we're going to go to the File tab, and then towards the bottom there's an Options category. And I think, let me see if I can make this a little smaller so you can see what's going on here. In the Word Options dialog box, on the left hand side, we are going to choose the proofing category, and this is probably then what you see, looks similar to what you see on page 56. And our goal here is we just want to make sure that this ignore words in uppercase, ignore words that contain numbers, ignore internet and file addresses, all of those 4 options have been selected and are turned on. Okay, and they are. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK out of this. That'll take us back to our document. We are going to run a spell check on this. Now they have us pulling up a file called plan dis. Okay, I'm going to say it's distributions. And they wanted us to rename it Word Level 2, Chapter 2, Project 1. So I went ahead and did that. Now, the spelling checker is found underneath, the Review tab. And then in the Proofing group, you should see Spelling and Grammar. Click on that. And that brings up the Spelling and Grammar dialog box that we looked at previously on page 54. Okay, so what's going to happen here, it's going to start from the top of the document since our insertion point was at the top, and it'll go through the document, and where there's a word that's not found in the dictionary, it'll stop, flag it, put it in red here, and then it provides suggestions at the bottom as to what the computer thinks that you might want to replace that word with. And so we are going to choose just beginning, and let's go ahead and choose change there because we do want to change it to begin, and it automatically changes it in your document, and it also shows that in the preview as well. Next one, you can see here the actual replacement that we want for that. It should be any. Don't need an E in there, so we'll just leave any there and choose change. Separated gives us suggestions there. We'll change that. I don't know what that is, except that it should be after, so we'll make that selection in the list. You do have to select that and then change. You begin an annuity. Again, first suggestion there is fine, and we'll click change. This one should be series, and it's the first one on the list, so we'll keep it as that and click change. You can see that's gross income. And then at the end it'll say the spelling and grammar checker is complete, and we'll click OK out of that. And you'll notice now the corrections to the document have been made. Okay. Next, we're going to check the grammar in another document. This is in Project 2, and the grammar will actually search a document for the grammar, obviously, the style, punctuation, and word usage. And again, I mentioned this before, it works the same way as a spell checker in that it's not going to find every error in a document. So you need to still go back and proofread your documents after you've run through the grammar checker. As we begin Project 2A with checking the grammar in our document, it does have us open up a different file called metadata. I've pulled it up. I haven't saved it, but they asked us to save it as Word Level 2, Chapter 2, Project 2. So I'm going to forgo that. I think you know how to save by now. And we're going to check the grammar again by going through the same steps. We're going to go back to the Review tab. And in the Proofing group, we'll go ahead and choose Spelling and Grammar. And again, it's going to be checking the grammar this time. So it stops where it says the medical community look forward to the day. And it gives you suggestions at the bottom. But let's say we don't know the reason why it's brought that to our attention. And so what you can do on the right hand side is choose Explain. And that'll bring up the Help dialog box, which should give us some examples here of a subject-verb agreement. The verb of the sentence must agree with the subject in number and person. So they give you some examples of this, and hopefully you can understand why the rule is the way it is. You can close out of Help, and then based on the information that you've read, hopefully you'll choose the right one here. And for our particular example, they want us to leave it at Community Looks, and we'll just choose Change there. It goes to the next occurrence. With these new medical database systems, doctors located anywhere in the world could pull up charts immediately. Again, not sure why they're giving us doctors there, but we can go to the Explain button. And again, it'll show you the reason for plural verbs and possessive verbs, not verbs, plural nouns and possessive nouns. And so they give you some explanation of that, and after reading that, then hopefully you understand why they chose doctors, because there's multiple doctors. We're not possessing anything. With apostrophe S, you would be possessing something, and there's nothing here. It's just talking about more than one doctor. So we'll click change, and it goes to privacy issues. And again, you could go to explain. Bottom line here, subject is issues, should be R. Privacy issues R. And then you can click change, and it'll say that it's complete. We can click OK to that, and now your document should be filtered through enough with the grammar check. And if you've done a spelling check, obviously it would go through and check for spelling errors too, as it checked for grammar errors. This particular document didn't have spelling errors in it, so it didn't stop at any of that. But again, you would need to go back and proofread the document to make sure that there weren't any words that maybe were spelled correctly but used incorrectly in the sentence. Okay. All right, now there are the grammar checker has a specific style that it uses. You may want to choose a different style than what the default is, but to get to those and to see what the writing style has been set at, if we go to the File tab again, into Options, and again the proofing category on the left, and then we're looking for writing style. Let me again resize this just a minute. And in the when correcting grammar and spelling and grammar in Word, we've got some options here. But the writing style is what we're looking at. Right now it's looking just for grammar only. Click on the drop down arrow. We also want it to look for style. So we're going to say grammar and style for this particular one. Okay, and then we'll click OK out of it. And we'll go back to the home. I'm going to go back home to the top of the document. We'll run the spell check or the grammar checker again. So on the Review tab, Proofing Group, Spelling and Grammar, it's saying it's complete. So now I just noticed after we ran that, back in the dialog box, I failed to choose the recheck the document option. So I want to do that again. We're going to go back into the File tab, Options, back to Proofing, and the writing style. Let me resize this again. I guess I lost that. Okay, the writing style we set at grammar and style. We need to have it recheck the document. So click OK. Operation resets the spelling checker and grammar checker so that the word will recheck words and grammar you previously checked and chose to ignore. Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and click OK on this. We need to go back to the top of the document. We'll run the spelling and grammar again. And now it's going to stop at a different point in different locations here. So at this point, you can go through. If you want to have it explained to you again, you can. They do want to add a comma here, so we're going to go ahead and choose change to that. And then again, another comma after far, so we'll change again. Now it's completely, it's gone through that using the updated or the changed grammar and style that we selected previously. All right. Now let's. Eventually they're going to get us back to changing that writing style back to grammar only, but before we do that they want us to display the readability statistics. And a couple of things involved here. Statistics can include word, character, paragraph, and sentence count. So it can keep track of how many words you have in your document, how many characters, paragraphs, and sentences that you have in your document. It can also show you what they call the flesh reading ease and also flesh Kincaid grade level. And the reading ease should be set at around 60 to 70, the 60 to 70 range, whereas the flesh Kincaid grade level should be at an average. We all read at the 7th or 8th grade level. So they're saying that you probably want to write at that level as well. And all those are based again on, well, the flesh reading ease and the Kincaid grade level scores based on the way they calculate it is the average number of syllables per word and the average number of words per sentence. So as you have longer words, longer sentences, longer syllables, more complicated words, then that reading ease and the Flesch Kincaid grade level goes up. So, and you can tweak that if you've got a document that's, let's say you've written at the 11th grade level, you can go back and look for words, make the sentence length, maybe shorter. Some of the words, maybe just 1 or 2 syllable words, can be replaced with the more complicated words. So, great tool to have if you're concerned about the audience that will be reading your document. So to have the readability statistics display, we're going to have to go back into the Word Options dialog box. And so go back in there, File tab, Options, Proofing, and let's see if I can resize this again. In the when checking spelling and grammar in Word, we want to show readability statistics. By default, that's turned off. So we'll click OK to that. Again, I'm going to go back up to the top of the document, and then we'll run the spelling and grammar checker again. And now we get the readability statistics dialog box, and you can see that there are 227 words, 1,198 characters, there's 4 paragraphs and 15 sentences. The average sentence per paragraph is 5. There's 14 words per sentence, and there's 5 characters per word. So the Flesch reading ease is at 45, and that's a little low. But they say the higher score, the greater number of people who will be able to understand the text in the document. So that may be a little bit low on that particular item. And then the Flesch Kincaid grade level is at 10. And again, depending on your audience, who you're writing to, remember the average reading level is 7th or 8th grade level. And many of our newspapers are written at that level as well. So just some additional information, and again, if those levels and ranges aren't where you want them, you can go back and restructure your sentences and use different words. Okay. Click OK to that. And then the final thing we want to do in Project 2C is go back and reset that writing style to grammar only. So I'm going to go back to the File tab, Options, Proofing, and again, I'm going to resize this. I'm not sure if you can see that at the bottom. But our writing style needs to be switched back to just grammar only. And then we can click OK to that.